The evening sun dipped behind the hills, casting golden light across the dusty fields. She stood at the edge of the fence, clutching her small suitcase, her eyes fixed on the horizon like someone trying not to cry. Her name was Clara, a woman whose heart had learned to stay quiet after too many goodbyes. She had come to this ranch answering an ad, housekeeper needed. Room and board provided. What the ad didn't say was that the man who placed it, Luke Harland, was a widower raising 3 children alone. When Luke stepped out from the barn, wiping his hands on a cloth, she nearly stepped back. He was tall, sun-worn, with kind eyes that seemed to see too much. "You must be Clara," he said softly. "Come on in. The kids have been asking if the new housekeeper knows how to make pancakes." She smiled faintly, nodding. "I can try." That night, the ranch was alive with the sounds of laughter she hadn't heard in years. The youngest, Emma, had syrup on her chin. The middle child, Noah, was trying to feed the dog under the table, and the oldest, Sam, watched Clara with a curious, almost protective gaze. Luke said little, but when Clara caught him watching her quietly across the table, she felt a warmth she hadn't known she was missing. Days turned into weeks, and she fell into the rhythm of the ranch, the morning coffee, the clatter of hooves, the endless chores that left her tired but alive. Yet, every time one of the children called her name, something inside her twisted. She'd once been married, once carried dreams of motherhood until the doctor said she never could be. Her husband had left soon after, saying he couldn't live without the hope of children. That wound had never healed, it had only learned to hide. One afternoon, while mending a torn shirt on the porch, Emma climbed into her lap and asked softly, "Miss Clara, can I call you Mama?" Clara froze. Her hands trembled. "Oh, sweetheart," she whispered, her throat tight. "I'm not your mama. But you act like one," Emma said simply, as only a child could. "You tuck us in. You make us laugh. Mama used to do that." Clara didn't know what to say. She only held Emma close until the little girl fell asleep against her shoulder. Later that evening, she found Luke out by the barn, the sky turning crimson behind him. She told him everything, the truth about her past, her broken marriage, the words that had haunted her for years. "I can't be a mother, Luke," she said, her voice trembling. "Not the way your kids deserve. I can help here, I can cook, clean, care for them, but I can't be that to them." Luke listened in silence, his eyes never leaving hers. When she finally looked down, ashamed, he stepped closer, his voice low but sure. "Clara," he said gently, "you already are. You just don't see it yet." She shook her head, tears spilling over. "You don't understand. I can't give you more children. I can't." He stopped her by taking her hands in his. "I've got 3 calling you Mama already. That's more than enough." Her breath caught. The world seemed to still around them, the creak of the barn door, the soft rustle of wind in the grass, the far-off laughter of the children. He continued, his voice steady and full of quiet truth. "You've brought warmth back into this house. You made them laugh again. You made me remember what home feels like. You think being a mother is about blood. It's about love, Clara. And you've got plenty of that." Her tears fell freely then, but they weren't from sorrow. They were the kind that came when a heart too long burdened finally found rest. That night, when she tucked the children in, they wrapped their little arms around her and whispered goodnight, Mama. For the first time, she didn't correct them. She simply smiled through her tears, kissed each forehead, and when she stepped out into the quiet hallway, Luke was there, waiting, watching her with that same calm, unshakable warmth. In that silence, something unspoken passed between them. Not promises, not grand declarations, just the quiet understanding that she belonged. The woman who once believed she could never be a mother had found 3 little hearts that had chosen her anyway. And a man who saw her not for what she couldn't give, but for everything she already was. The days that followed moved slower, sweeter somehow. Clara found herself humming while folding laundry, smiling when she heard the children running outside. There was a peace settling over the ranch that she couldn't quite explain, a feeling of belonging that frightened and healed her at the same time. Luke noticed it too. He didn't say much, but he didn't need to. His eyes told her everything. Each morning when their paths crossed near the kitchen or out in the fields, there was a quiet comfort between them. No words, just a shared rhythm of 2 souls learning to trust the silence again. One early morning, when the fog still hugged the fields, Clara carried a basket of laundry to hang outside. The air was cool, her breath visible in the dawn light. She watched as Luke walked toward the stables, a faint smile on his face as he whistled softly to the horses. She felt something stir in her chest, something she had buried long ago, something that whispered of second chances. When he saw her, he waved. "You're up early." She smiled. "The chores don't wait." He chuckled. "No, they don't. But you should. You work too hard." "Maybe," she said, adjusting a shirt on the line. "But it keeps my heart quiet." Luke's expression softened. "You don't need to quiet it, Clara. You've earned peace." She didn't answer, just looked away. She wasn't used to people caring about her heart. For so long, her worth had been measured by what she could give: children, love, comfort, and when she couldn't, she was left behind. But here, on this ranch, things were different. Luke never asked for more than she offered. His children didn't care about her past. They only wanted her laughter, her warmth, her stories at bedtime. A week later, the sky opened up with rain. The storm was fierce, beating against the roof and howling through the trees. Power flickered out, and the children gathered near the fireplace, huddled under blankets. Clara lit a few candles and told them stories about brave hearts and lost travelers finding home. Luke came in soaked from checking the stables. His shirt clung to his chest, his hair dripping down his forehead. Clara rushed to him with a towel, scolding softly. "You'll catch cold out there." He laughed quietly, letting her fuss over him. "Everything's fine. Horses are safe." When she looked up at him, their eyes met, and for a moment, everything else faded: the storm, the rain, the years of loneliness. There was only that stillness, the kind that felt like recognition. Later, after the children had fallen asleep, they sat together near the fire. The crackling light danced on their faces. Luke leaned back, sighing. "You know, Clara, I used to think I'd never hear laughter in this house again. After Mary died, it felt like the whole world stopped." Clara listened quietly. He rarely spoke of his late wife, and she never pressed him to. But now, his voice carried both pain and release. "She was gentle," he continued. "Loved sunflowers. Couldn't cook worth a damn, but the kids adored her. When she got sick, I didn't know how to be both father and mother." He looked at Clara then. "Until you came." Her throat tightened. "Luke, I'm not saying this to make you uncomfortable," he said softly. "I just want you to know, you've brought them back to life. You've brought me back." She wanted to look away but couldn't. The weight of his words settled in her chest, heavy and warm. "You don't owe me that," she whispered. "I'm just doing what anyone would." "No," he said firmly, his voice low. "Not anyone. You." The fire crackled louder between them, filling the silence that followed. Clara turned her gaze to the flames, her hands twisting in her lap. She wanted to tell him everything: the nights she cried herself to sleep, the dreams that never came true, the emptiness that followed her everywhere. But something inside her said she didn't need to. He already knew. The next morning, Emma came running into her room, her curls bouncing, her little hands clutching a drawing. "Look, Mama Clara." Clara froze. The word hung in the air like sunlight breaking through clouds. "What did you call me?" she asked gently. Emma giggled, holding up her drawing of stick figures: Luke, Noah, Sam, and herself. Beside them was a woman with brown hair and a big smile. "You. That's you. You're my mama now." Clara's breath caught, her vision blurring with tears. "Oh, sweetheart." She pulled the little girl into her arms, holding her close, feeling the tiny heartbeat against her chest. It was fragile, real, and it filled every hollow place she'd ever carried. Luke stood in the doorway, watching. He didn't say anything, just smiled, that quiet, knowing smile that always made her heart ache in the best way. That afternoon, Clara found him fixing the fence. "You heard her," she said softly. He looked up, squinting against the sun. "I did." "She shouldn't call me that," Clara said, but her voice lacked conviction. "Why not?" he asked simply. "It makes her happy. It makes all of them happy." "And what about you?" she asked, almost afraid to know. He set down his tools, wiping his hands on his jeans. "Clara, I don't want to rush you into anything. I just want you to see what's already true. You're part of us. You belong here." Her heart raced. "You make it sound so simple." "It is simple," he said gently. "You don't need to give birth to be a mother, Clara. You just have to love. And you do. You love them more than you realize." The words sank deep, and for the first time, she didn't push them away. The days that followed felt lighter. She started laughing more, letting herself breathe, letting the warmth around her sink in without guilt. The children began leaving little gifts on her nightstand: wildflowers, drawings, shells from the creek. Each one felt like a piece of a new life she never thought she'd have. One evening, after dinner, Luke asked her to walk with him. The sky was streaked with pink and gold, the fields whispering in the breeze. They walked in silence for a while, until he stopped near the fence where they first met months ago. "Clara," he said quietly, "I don't know what tomorrow holds. But I know this: I can't picture this home without you." Her chest tightened, tears burning her eyes. He reached out, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "You once said you couldn't be a mother. Maybe you were right about the past. But look at you now. You've been one every single day since you walked through that door." She couldn't speak. Her voice was gone, stolen by the tenderness in his eyes. All she could do was nod, as tears slipped down her cheeks. He took her hand, his grip warm, steady, certain. "You don't have to carry the old pain anymore," he whispered. "You've already given this family a new beginning." The wind moved softly through the fields, carrying the faint sound of laughter from the house, Emma's voice calling for her, nose echoing behind. Clara turned toward the sound, then back to Luke. For the first time in years, her heart felt full, not because of what she had lost, but because of what she had finally found. Love, she realized, had found her quietly, patiently, without demand. And in that love, she had become what she was always meant to be: a mother, not by birth, but by the power of her heart.